What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfire. Some of you may have seen that recent clip, Mahershala Ali joking about Marvel Studios giving him a call because he's still ready to do Blade. And all joking aside, even though it's been a 5-year delay, 5 rewrites to the script, and no release date, as long as Mahershala Ali is still attached to the role of Blade, and he is, the movie's going to be made. And it seems as though, given all the rumors over the last 6 months to a year about a Midnight Suns crossover also featuring Blade, that might have been Marvel Studios' concession in order to make him stick around. Look, not only will we get your movie done, but there'll be a big crossover in tow. We've also heard tons of rumors about a possible Doctor Strange 3, and while I think it's likely Benedict Cumberbatch is probably going to exit the MCU with the Doctor Strange death and during Avengers Secret Wars, still, the rumors of a Doctor Strange 3 have persisted and for after the Multiverse Saga. Well, given this latest update and from a trusted industry insider source, it seems like Doctor Strange 3 and the Midnight Suns project might be one and the same, as Marvel Studios is looking to adapt the Damnation storyline and feature the recently introduced Mephisto. We're going to break down this latest report, what it exactly says for this future crossover and the first Midnight Suns film, and what the plotline would be loosely based on the comic. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel. That's all we do. Thanks to everyone who's been subscribing lately, and if you haven't already, I just kindly invite you to do so. It's the #1 thing you can do to support the channel. Plus, it'll enter you for our PS5 giveaways, which there's a next one in just a couple of weeks for Fantastic Four. Again, all you gotta do, be a sub, leave a comment if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so this is the latest coming from the editorial, The Cosmic Circus. If you're not familiar with their work, usually their reporting and scoops come from two places, either the editor-in-chief Lizzie Hill or industry insider Alex Perez, as in this case, where he talked about the Ironheart introduction for Mephisto actually setting up the Damnation storyline in the MCU. He goes on to say, quote, "According to our sources, Marvel Studios currently has plans to adapt the comic event known as Damnation, a major 2018 storyline starring the Midnight Suns." Now, what's interesting about the Damnation storyline is that it's actually a Doctor Strange comic, hence my prologue where I explained we may be headed for a Doctor Strange 3 that is a crossover with the Midnight Suns, or rather he's a member of that team. In that storyline, he basically opens a portal to hell and mistakenly turns Las Vegas into a hellscape, and it's a battle against Mephisto. He has to assemble a makeshift Midnight Suns, in which case would be heroes from R616 that they've been slowly setting up, and since the beginning of the Multiverse Saga. It would include Werewolf by Night, Elsa Bloodstone, Moon Knight, Blade, and most importantly of all, a character that has not yet joined the MCU but has probably had more reports about his debut than the Midnight Suns team itself, and Ghost Rider. So all those reports we've been hearing about Ghost Rider joining the MCU and possibly being cast, again, there have been tons of them in the last year. They are probably for this Midnight Suns movie, and that'll be the big character introduction as part of the film. Now, that being said, there is a huge asterisk here, because why are we talking about a Midnight Suns, a crossover that includes Blade, when we haven't even gotten the Blade film yet? And look, I'm fully willing to admit that I might be the one who's playing the fool here when we just heard the story that's confirmed that Ryan Coogler and the Sinners production purchased a ton of the costumes from the Blade movie that was about to go into production and got the plug pulled 2 months beforehand. And that was so long ago at this point, I'm not even sure if you guys remember how close to that movie being filmed it was. And that was before several of the rewrites took place in the last 24 months. So again, maybe I'm silly here for thinking they're going to make it, but if Mahershala Ali is sticking around and now they're dangling a crossover for the Midnight Suns, I've got to think that right after they are done with Secret Wars, Blade is one of the very first titles that is going to come out alongside the X-Men reboot and Black Panther 3. It just makes the most sense, and especially if we're looking down the road to a Midnight Suns crossover, eventually to feature Mephisto. Now, that said, he goes on to share a lot more context about this project. Quote, "While there will not be a one-to-one direct adaptation of the story in the MCU, it will be heavily influenced by the events of the storyline. Mephisto will seek to conquer Earth and establish dominion over Hell itself. This explains his current status in Ironheart, and it's something that should be elaborated on by the time we get to the Blade film, which is still under development. But sources have pointed towards the movie's villain, Lilith, as one of the potential rivals to Mephisto by the time the events of Damnation come to pass. The whole purpose is to eventually explore a story set within the supernatural setting of the MCU, with the Damnation storyline culminating in what will be a Midnight Suns film." He then goes on to lightly reference the Strange Academy project. Now, we've talked about that at the channel several times, but it seemed like alongside every other project at Disney Plus, they put the big fat hold or cancel button on all of those projects and really have just been in a holding pattern trying to figure out what to do as per the latest reports. So I'm not exactly sure we're ever going to see a Strange Academy, especially with a lot of rumors saying that they're going to make it street level heroes. There's money that goes into a magic show, and I can imagine that Ironheart was actually expensive to produce, but I think with a more focused approach, that is, if they're trying to explore the supernatural part of the universe and they have one show that ties into that, they may still be looking to do the kind of world building that we're exposed to in the MCU, just maybe on a lesser scale, so there's not quote unquote so much homework involved. Now that being said, he goes even further to say, quote, other characters we can expect to see step into the foreground for the storyline is the featuring long-awaited debut of Ghost Rider, which we just talked about. Sources have informed us that Marvel Studios is currently focusing on the Johnny Blaze version of the character, as well as other notable demons, such as Mephisto's son Blackheart and Chthon. Or Cthon. If you want to argue about the pronunciation in the comments, go ahead. I certainly will not be taking part in that. Either way, this paints a huge picture for a pretty elaborate setup for the supernatural side of the MCU, and again, what we expected for the next phase to be Mutant Saga, and it sounds like Marvel's taking a multi-pronged approach to the themes for that, as it's not just going to be about the mutants here on Earth and their plight against humanity, but it will also include the supernatural side of the universe we talked about during this video, and the cosmic side of the universe that's meant to tie into the Nova character and what happens with the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxies. Fingers crossed we're going to get to an Annihilators film. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below about either the Damnation storyline and the introduction of the Midnight Suns, and whether or not you think I'm a fool for thinking Marvel Studios is still going to make Blade. I'm all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Alright, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel. The next one is for the Fantastic Four drop in just a couple of weeks. We're also going to kick up giving away some tickets for the Fantastic Four starting next week. If you want to be entered to win or for any of the future giveaways, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on, and as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name All Fires. And while I would sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.